for being here. We really appreciate your presence and your energy and your time. This conversation is between two native comedians, the amazing Joey Clift and Howie. I'm going to let them take it away.
When I say Joey, you say Clift. Joey. Has that ever happened to you before?
When I say Howie, you say Echo Hawk. Howie. Echo Hawk, Howie.
It's two syllables. It doesn't work. And there's enough Indians in here to not want to shout out Echo Hawk. They've heard it enough.
Also, for the record, Howie's double fisting cran grape juice and wine.
It's important. It's important to stay hydrated. If I leave the cran grape long enough, it will just be the wine later. That's a joke about fermentation.
We know it.
We're really native comedy, highbrow. I will say before we get started here, I do a lot of stand-up. Well, I do a moderate to mild, spicy level of comedy, and I'm used to being elevated both physically and spiritually above the audience, and this is intimidating. I don't know how I feel about.
Right, yeah, it feels like they could attack us at any moment.
Yeah, truly.
Like as a comedian, you have the high ground.
Exactly, well, and you need it.
Yeah.
Because you're doing comedy, which is among the worst things you can do as a human person. Yeah, my name's Howie Echo Hawk. I'm a trans native person. Who's okay with that? Who do I have to fight in the parking lot? Two claps.
Wait, which side was that clap on?
That's the noise it's gonna make when we're fighting in the parking lot. One clap, second clap. And my friend?
Yeah, my name's Joey Clift. I'm a comedian, TV writer. Oh, sweet, my sound's on. Enrolled Cal Indian tribal member, and yeah, I guess I'll fight whoever. It's you and me versus the world. Yeah.
You look tough. your microphone's on and now mine's off.
Oh, that's a fun. Wait, do we pass back and forth? What do we do?
Oh, it's up. Oh, there we go.
Okay, mine's down.
I knew that this was a native. I knew this was a native reception, but I didn't know it was this native of a reception. Somebody's auntie's back there, just like flicking with the thing. I don't know.
So let's talk about. Wait, is my microphone on?
No, your microphone's on.
Wait, is it supposed to be? Okay, so yours is on now.
Yeah, well, hello.
Wait, are you? Oh God. We could. Do we pass back and forth? Would that be the? Yeah, let's just pass. Okay, cool. Okay, now you.
Hello, this is normal and I'm fine about it. Here, you can hold the one that's not working. So, native comedy. What is it? When we were thinking about what we were supposed to talk about, me and Joey decided that it's actually really important to start with the most obvious thing. Well, before we get to that, we should talk about how we know each other. Which in the native comedy world and the native world, I don't know if you guys have noticed, for the people who are not native, which it appears to be right now that we have maybe a majority. You waved. Hello. It's good to see you here and everywhere I go. Because of the genocide. Anyway, it's just, I don't know if you guys knew this, America at one point, 100% native, had a little population drop. The Oregon Trail.
Russia.
There was some Russia. The Oregon Trail really got us. I'll tell you what, the Oregon Trail really, really got us. I don't know if you've been to Oregon. A lot of white people.
Okay, so the way that we know each other is, okay, you can take the microphone that doesn't work. So we often talk about it's like offensive to say that every native comedian is friends with every other native comedian, but in this case it's true. All native comedians are kind of friends with each other. I think that we know each other because I posted something on Instagram and you clicked on my profile and you were just like, native comedian, gotta follow that person.
Yeah.
And then
This is great. So, if we can get a good pan back there, whoever's working the sound booth, if I can get a left and a right, that would be really wonderful. Yeah, no, I mean, it really is though, like every time there's a new native comedian that pops up on Instagram or something, or anywhere, I instantly follow them. I don't care if they're a good or bad person. I'm just happy that they're...
How many times they've been Me Too?
That Joey said that. I figure I'm more worried about how many times they've been yes-anded. You know what I'm saying? Thank you. Thank you so much. That's Native comedy. Yeah, and you follow them as hard as you can because there's not enough of us out there. I'm actually I feel very lucky because Joey has helped out my career. I'm just pointing with this microphone now. I was on the list that you kind of helped put together, the top 26 Native American comedians to watch on Up Rocks, which is all of them. It's all of the comedians, and I barely made it.
I mean, that's really how it felt. I feel like there was, like it is that thing, there's a book that came out about the history of Native comedy called We Had a Little Real Estate Problem or something like that.
Yeah, the Charlie Hill.
Yeah, the Charlie Hill book, yeah. And it was that thing of like looking at that book, I like probably was like legit friends with 80% of the people in the book, or at least like familiar with them.
Yeah.
So yeah, all Native comedians are friends.
I'm not even featured in that book really, but I am in the index. I'm in the index as a reference.
What?
Just because I'm a Native comedian that's alive. Echo Hawk, Howie. Yeah, no, I'm in it, but I'm not in it. I'm only somewhat important. So how many Native people do we have here, by the way? Hey! This is our chance, guys. We got them outnumbered. This is the one and only time. This is where the revolution begins.
You want to say something?
Oh. We should talk about Native comedy, right?
Yeah, and so to start by talking about Native comedy, we realized that it's really important to begin by talking about white comedy. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. Your Seinfelds.
Yeah, we've got Seinfelds, we've got like Norm Macdonald. I feel like, it's just like all your classic white comedians. I think it is important to define white comedy in, a sentence or two, which is, very, very normal and a very cool thing to do. I feel like it involves a lot of suits and jokes about yoga.
Yeah, your John Mulaney's. Your picture any white man and put him in a suit. I've seen that guy at an open mic. I tell you right now. I tell you that white comedy is, well, it's most I think it's best known for it's probably like it's racism, right? Just like or transphobia. Although I will say my favorite transphobic comedian, Dave Chappelle. If I had to choose one, it's Dave.
This is all being filmed. This camera.
Dave.
I guess, what is, Native comedy, that's what the panel's about. I mean, I feel like to me, Native comedy is just any comedy done by a Native person, right?
Right. I mean, my favorite Native comedy, and we were talking about this earlier, is the thing that my auntie would say at probably a funeral. That was the most inappropriate thing you've ever heard, but you were weeping 10 seconds before that, and now you're laughing as hard as you possibly can. But that problem though with that auntie, well at least mine, is she should never be put on television. she will be Me Too'd and thus and begun and othered and any other word you can think of should just out.
Wait, she's Me Too'd? What's her Instagram? Let me go. Let's do this. Just kidding.
Dave Chappelle's following her?
Yeah, so I think that like that is kind of the thing is like Native comedy is, ultimately just comedy done by a Native person, and I feel like what, we do separately comedically is like very different from each other as, any other Native comedians. But I think that there are some like commonalities in that like I feel like it involves a lot of like teasing and stuff, right?
Yeah.
Like I remember I grew up in the toilet press and I would always like get roasted and then it would be followed by somebody saying like "ay" or something like that. Like that feels like a Native comedy thing, right?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's weird to be talking about Native comedy to so many Native faces who I assume know just as well as I do. That Native people are, when I first started doing comedy, I would get people who would ask me, like, talk to me about, because I talk about the genocide and stuff because it's very funny. It's very funny to camera. And like people would be like, oh, like that's so interesting. I've never even heard of a Native American person doing comedy. And I was like, well, I just said the genocide.
I feel like a lot of those people will say, not just I've never heard of a Native person doing comedy. They'll just say like, oh, I've never heard of a Native person. You guys are still around.
I do like to open a lot of my sets by going, hi, my name is Howie. I'm a Native American person. We're still alive. Fuck you.
Classic opener.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like, I feel like it's a lot of, it's a lot of like teasing, and yeah, like there's Native folks in the audience. Something that I think is really interesting about, like I would say just like the current state of Native comedy is I feel like there's like a couple of different camps of Native comedians that are coming up right now. Wait, let me answer that. Just kidding. There's a couple of different camps of Native comedians. There's folks like myself and like Janice Schmeeding and like Tyler Clare and Brian Bahi that like immediately moved to the big cities and try to do things the super traditional, you work your way up through a comedy club kind of way. And then I feel like there's folks like the 1491s and yourself and like folks like Adrian Shalpai and the ladies of Native comedy that are just like doing these really cool off the beaten path things. So I guess speak on that a little bit.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thank you for comparing me to so many wonderful people. That feels really nice. Yeah, no, I mean, like, well, again, we were talking about this earlier, but like, when the 1491s put out the Wolfpack auditions, like, it kind of, I think, it's the same way when I heard the Tribe Called Red the first time, I was like, oh, why have we not been doing this the whole time? Like, it made so much sense. And
Did you put a drum beat over powwow?
Oh my God. Why, yeah, like, and so, like, watching Native people make fun of, like, the things that we all do, which is making fun of white people movies and, like, and hanging out and just like talking shit, like watching that happen, I've always been very funny and attractive, and no, we're not questioning those things. I've always been those things, and I did, but like I had this weird sense that it didn't matter if I was funny because I'm Native. And then coming out and being trans too, like I was like, I'll never, like nobody will ever want to put me in front of a television screen, which they have not still, but they do talk about it sometimes. I've been quoted. I mean, like
You were the source in a book.
I was the source in a book. I've had, like it's not like I'm actually really happy with what I've been able to do, but like I have been like approached about like people in LA have asked me if I want to come down there and move down there and do things, and I think about it, but like I realize that like Native comedy is wherever I'm at. Like I don't need to follow that same path because it's actually just not for me. That path for comedians specifically, we were talking about like you work at a club, you put on a suit, you do the Jerry Seinfeld thing, and be like, isn't that thing's different than that thing? Isn't that a joke? It's not. It's not a joke, Jerry. That's nothing. That's just you waking up. And like you're supposed to do these things, or you're supposed to talk clean, and especially as somebody like my comedy is really confrontational, there just wasn't a path, and I just kind of said fuck it. And I think I talked to you probably too earlier on about when I started doing comedy, and then all of a sudden like every fucking reporter and their reporter mom would start wanting to talk to me about Native comedy. Just all of a sudden out of nowhere. I'd been doing comedy like maybe like a year at that point, and people were like, somebody said genocide on a stage, and wow, I gotta talk to them about comedy.
Yeah, genocide is your catchphrase. That is your like, here's my sign. That's you might be a redneck as genocide.
I mean, it works. and that's
yeah, you can't argue with results. Yeah, well, I guess like I think it might be useful if we talked about kind of like you said that your comedy is really confrontational. I was kind of like talking about our comedy, and maybe that would be a good way to kind of illuminate. We could maybe find some common points or something.
Yeah, I wanted to ask, because this person right here from the Tulela Brez has, anybody from the Tulela Brez? Oh, right. No, really.
For the record, I'm Calitz. My mom and my brother are in the audience. They both lived with me on the Tulela Brez, and they did not make a peep. There we go.
Just that's what my family would do too. I don't know if you noticed this. Like, whenever my family does grace me with their presence at a comedy show, I will be like, any natives in the audience? It's the one time I don't want them to shout, and they're like, yeah! And I'm like, you've ruined my joke.
Really quick, I just want to say I see the word covered wagon taped to the floor, and I got real nervous. It's like, wait, are we, okay. Split, okay, I think we're fine, that's the only one.
Don't look now, but that one says cowboy, and it's looking right at you. the natural enemy of Native Americans everywhere, the cowboy. I forgot what you asked.
Yeah, so I guess, so your comedy is really confrontational.
I wanted to shift to you.
Yeah.
Because Joey has a show on Comedy Central.
It's Comedy Central Digital. Calm down, everybody.
Everything's digital nowadays, baby. We're not even here. This is holograms. We're filming for Reservation Dogs right now. You know, like I in particular, like one of your first shorts, which I still haven't been able to see, unfortunately, but is like my first Native American boyfriend, right? Or one of your shorts. And Joey does this thing where it's like, the clips that I've been able to see is just this very tongue-in-cheek, like, hey, Stephen King, what's with all the burial grounds of Native Americans? And it's just, I love it so much. I wanted to hear you talk about why you've taken this particular road, especially animation.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so my background is I came up as a kind of a sketch comedian, improviser in LA, and then that led to like TV writing. Like I wrote on like Spirit Rangers on Netflix, and yeah, hell yeah, Molly Denali also. I got a Molly Denali episode coming out in a couple weeks. I'm excited about. And you know, I also make a lot of different like animated shorts and things on the side. I had a short that has gone viral on native TikTok a couple times with a very long name that's called "Telling People You're Native American When You're Not Native Is a Lot Like Telling a Bear You're a Bear When You're Not a Bear." It's basically a Fiona Apple album title of a short film name. When I wrote it, didn't think I was gonna have to say that name a lot. Boy, was I a fool. And you know, I guess that I originally made that short because I remember a friend of mine was posting like on Facebook about a protest against the, you know, at the time kind of unfortunately named Washington DC NFL team. Now they're unfortunately named for a completely different reason. The Commanders, that's not great.
That's their name?
Yeah, I think so, right? But there was somebody that like commented on this like post about this protest saying something to the effect of, I just got my DNA test in the mail, and it says I'm like 125th Indian, and I think the team name is fine. So everybody lay off. And my response to that was like, okay, cool take, super great stuff. But I didn't really have anything that I could like share with this person to maybe explain why what he was saying wasn't the coolest thing to say, other than just like long think pieces. So I made this like silly 2-minute animated short, basically to just kind of like have something packed full of jokes that could hopefully like, you know, act as catharsis for Native folks who are like tired of having that, like, you know, like I had a wolf in it. I saw a wolf in a dream once. Does that mean I'm Native kind of conversation? Yeah. And that led to doing the series called Gone Native, which is a series of more kind of like comedy animated PSAs about just like, you know, weird microaggressions that Native folks deal with. Like one of them is called, every time you say something is your spirit animal, you have to give every Native American person you know $25. So far, nobody has Venmoed me $25, and I'm just waiting for it. And then my first Native American boyfriend, that was based on a relationship I was in a few years ago, where a few weeks into the relationship, my girlfriend shook me awake at 4 in the morning on a Saturday with a look of just absolute concern in her eyes, because she needed to tell me that when she was 5 years old, her mom dressed her up like Pocahontas from the Disney movie, and she just had to apologize about it. And of course, my response was like, it's 4 in the morning, go back to bed.
Did she Venmo you $25?
Yeah, I should ask her to.
This was for you.
Yeah, and now that's my wife. Just kidding, we broke up. But,
and here she is.
Yeah, here she is. This is my wedding. Surprise, everybody. That's why my mom and brother are here. But yeah, you know, so I guess that for me, it's just I've been asked so many weird and dumb questions by non-natives, and I feel like a lot of Native folks kind of run into those sorts of things of like, you know, questions like, were you born in a teepee? Like, did your reservation have electricity? Like, did you go to college for free? Like, those kinds of things. And I think it's really fun to kind of make fun of that, because it's weird to ask a grown adult if they have magic powers, or if, which is a real thing that my friend Lucas Brown has been asked, like a grown adult. You know, so I think that like it's really fun to make fun of that stuff, and I feel like it's like cathartic for, you know, at least myself to kind of cover that stuff.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I mean, I used to really struggle in the beginning of my comedy, feeling like I was talking about white people too much, you know what I mean? Because I kind of don't care about them. End of sentence.
The audience really, okay, so like, part of the audience turned on Howie, but part of the audience is very engaged.
Hello. You know, and I'll just say, like, I have a lovely little white mother. She's about 5'3". I have a 6'1", somewhat tolerable Native dad. And I'll just say to the white people who are uncomfortable, yes, it is coming from inside the house. Hello, it's me, Howie Echohawk, here to stay. And so, I really I've stumbled into this thing because I live in Seattle, and my first stand-up set, I was planning on talking about I had this whole bit about how I was I'm working on a character, and throughout the course of describing the character, I would realize that I was Andre 3000 from Outkast, which is that's about as much as that's worth, and it was good, but then I was performing at this queer POC event, and I'm in Seattle, right, and on Capitol Hill, and I walked in and there was 2 brown people and just a bunch of white people, and I was like, you know what, I'm not gonna do my ha-ha jokes if I can't, I want them to be deeply uncomfortable by looking at me, just knowing that I'm here and I'm alive, and little did I know that would become my entire thing. And it's been fun because I really admire somebody who has the patience to explain, and especially in such a humorous way, to explain, because it's when you're doing native comedy, there is this we know that unfortunately not everybody's going to be in on the joke because of the genocide, and it's always about the fourth one.
It's your catchphrase.
About the fourth one, people are but they mean it. And, there's just and so you're being forced to, you're I guess I gotta kind of make yourself, there's a big part of comedy, especially stand-up comedy, where you're trying to make yourself palatable. You're trying to make yourself, understandable. And I've always been a big fan of just being I want to be the most unpalatable thing that's possible. I want it to hurt as deep as I can. And I think you could, I do, I've always loved those kinds of comedians like Andy Kaufman or whatever. And every time I think I'm a badass, I remember Charlie Hill existed. Because Charlie Hill, for those of you who don't know, Charlie Hill is this Native American comedian who, he literally went and he has this a 15-minute or it might be longer, 20-minute kind of little special where he's performing in a bar full of just cowboys. Just cowboys, and he comes out, it's incredible, and he goes out there and he goes a lot of this, and this explains everything that you need to know about Native comedy. I'm just stealing his joke because he's dead, and what's he gonna do? Because ghosts don't exist, because if they did, there'd be, a lot of things would be different, because this is all a Native American burial ground, the whole thing, for 10,000 years it's been, and so he said this thing, one of my favorite jokes of his, he goes a lot of people will say to, Native people, I didn't know you guys were funny. I didn't know you guys could be comedians. And he said, well, that's interesting because we didn't think you were too funny either. And I love when I think back because as much as there is so much brand new, Reservations Dogs and Rutherford Falls, and all these amazing Native comedians are getting these chances. Also, this guy, Charlie Hill, back then, was killing it and talking about the same things that we talk about.
Yeah, that's something I talk about a lot with my just kind of other Native comedian friends, is I feel now we've got probably, wait, whose phone was that? Just kidding. I feel we've got, is my mom? No, she's fine. Yeah, I feel right now we've got a pretty healthy community of Native comedians. There's probably I'm gonna say probably 100 to 200 Native comedians that are doing it kind of at all different levels, some at the open mic level, some doing stuff JFL, like Brian Bahi recently did. And because of that, I feel we're able to relate to each other and help each other out and give each other advice, and also just hire each other for jobs and stuff. And I think that we talk about oftentimes in Charlie Hill's time, it was Charlie Hill and Larry Omaha, and maybe that's it, So it is really cool to see just the growth of Native comedy over the past, even 10 years, I guess is that something that you've noticed?
Yeah, and I mean, when I think about it, I always am sad because Charlie Hill, if you haven't listened to his stuff, you absolutely must. It is just so good, and it's so relevant to right now. His jokes are so good, and I think about how, when he was doing it, they were still making shitty ass westerns with not Native people being dressed up as Native people. And I feel you guys have seen westerns, right? It's not great. Some of my favorite white comedies are westerns, I will say.
All of our favorite white comedians, John Wayne, Clint Eastwood.
just the idea.
And a third white cowboy guy whose name I can't remember. Okay, Clint Eastwood, John Wayne, who's the third? Billy Crystal? Is he? Billy Crystal? Famed cowboy? I mean, I guess he was in...
He was in a cowboy.
Yeah, I guess he was in, what was that? He was in like, he was in City Slickers or something. Thank you for your help.
Well, who said that? Hilarious. That was a very good Billy Crystal. Well, it's weird though too. Like, yeah, like there has been this explosion. I truly I think I'm pretty great, but like also I was one of the only Native comedians of any notoriety at the time, and that was just a few years ago. Like, or Native comedians in Seattle anyway. And now there's like a bunch of people being rad as fuck.
Yeah, it's wild. Like, I put together the first showcase of Native comedians, like with an all-Native lineup that had ever happened at this place called the Upright Citizens Brigade Theater in Los Angeles, which is like a big comedy theater in LA that places like Saturday Night Live use as a farm team. And this was like 2018, and just me doing this, black box theater show in front of 100 people at this comedy theater in LA, like that made like international news. Multiple news outlets like covered it. I was like interviewed by a ton of different places about literally just Native comedians doing comedy on a mainstream stage in LA. Like that was newsworthy 4 years ago,
Yeah. And I think that like I had some existential crisis because I started getting noticing early on for doing what my friends doing stand-up were doing, just telling jokes. I was really like concerned, like, am I even good? Because like, why do people want to talk to me? I just fucking started. But then I had this realization. I was like, if any white man in a suit can tell jokes and be on Saturday Night Live or any other thing, then obviously I can do this. I tell people, and if you're Native or whatever, and you want to do comedy, I tell people this all the time, of course you can do it. John Mulaney just puts on a suit and talks like this the whole time, and that's it. That's the whole thing. He's got several hours of comedy out there. We really started to barrel through this. There were some things I wanted to ask you, but I could.
Wait, what do you want?
Well, as somebody who's in LA and a native in LA, how long have you been in LA actually doing the work?
So I'm about to age myself real hardcore, so everybody get ready for it. I moved to LA in 2010, but I've been doing comedy since probably like high school talent shows in like 1999 or something like that. So, I've been doing comedy in LA for, 10, 13 or so years, but like beyond that, I've been doing comedy for like probably over half my life, And I think that my journey was like a little bit inverse to yours in that I started doing comedy like growing up. I didn't think I was allowed to do comedy. It's because I didn't really see any Native comedians on TV. I was kind of after Charlie Hill kind of finished his run is when I was like watching late night and stuff like that. So I went to school for what to me felt like the next best thing, or like a more attainable way to do comedy, which was to be like a small market TV weather guy. I went to WSU to report the weather in a small town was my goal, and then fortunately a bunch of my professors kind of pulled me aside and said like, hey, you could just do comedy, right? And this was like 2009, and I was like, what? Yeah.
Do you remember any of what were your weather jokes? I just got it. If you remember one, I'd love to hear it.
I mean, they weren't even jokes. I think it was just like, I'm the Joe Man, here's the weather report. It was just like, things that count as just weird things for a human to say. But yeah, so for me, I feel like I felt a lot of pushback up until fairly recently to cover Native stuff in comedy. I've had a pretty good career before, things like Spirit Rangers. I wrote on a Looney Tunes relaunch for Cartoon Network. I've written for a lot of different, digital comedy places and a couple of different TV shows. And all of those, I was just writing sketch comedy videos about Batman or whatever, And it kind of felt to me whenever I would pitch a Native thing in the room, usually to a room of entirely non-Native writers and a non-Native head writer, that they would just not get it. And it probably wasn't until, I would say, really 2017, 2018 or so that I started to feel like, oh, this is something that not only do I really want to do? It kind of like doesn't matter if other people get it. It's just like, this is the material I want to create, you know? And I feel like that's kind of when a lot of us were, you know, starting in kind of this process, and a lot of people were really starting to kind of bubble up in different, like, you know, areas in their comedy career. But like, I feel like, at least in comedy, it just didn't feel like native comedy was like a welcome thing until recently.
Yeah, I mean, I think feel is an understatement. It felt like it was. I mean, you can clearly, I mean, the best native comedy that I've seen is still Avatar 2. Just the jokes, every, you know, love it. Just blue natives in space, baby.
But I think that's something that's really cool is like, while I feel like we were going through our existential crises of like, you know, like, can we do comedy? Are we good enough? Whatever. Like, the 1491s have been basically like barreling ahead and doing this amazing work for like, you know, a long time. Like, the Wolfpack video came out, and I want to say 2008, 2009, somewhere around there. It was when I was in college. And I think that it's been really cool to see them do comedy and do stuff completely off the beaten path of, you know, going through the late night system and going through the comedy clubs and stuff like that. Like, they just made that video to like make themselves laugh. Yeah. It went viral, so they made more videos, and then that's kind of built to like, now they have an amazing play that if you haven't seen, you should definitely check out. They've got, you know, Reservation Dogs on FX, which is, you know, created by Sterling Harjo, who's a member of the 1491s. But all the 1491s are like writers on the show and actors on the show. So it's clear that like the DNA of the 1491s is like filled with that show, or that show's filled with that. And I think that, you know, seeing that, I feel like we're all kind of watching what each other are doing, and it's like pushing all of us to do like interesting, cool work. It's like, finally we feel like we're welcome to do native comedy, and like we're also excited that everybody else is doing it, which is how, you know, I think we became friends in the first place.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, all that said, the Reservation Dogs is good, but Avatar 2 is still my favorite. It's still my favorite native comedy.
We're all chasing James Cameron.
He really did say, "This is." I just heard about the Lakota and I felt bad. That guy. Something you just said about like, you know, the 1491s doing their thing. You know, like obviously that spread like crazy through the native community when it happened. People were like, just like, again, I think everybody was like, why have we not been doing this the whole time? My personal favorite sketch of theirs, by the way, is the I'm an Indian Too, which is not even a sketch. It's just Ryan Redcorn dancing like a crazy person at Indian Market, which is, have we seen that video? Anybody? Do we have a clip?
No, we don't even have a video screen.
We have
I can play it on my phone and we can just hold it up.
Well, probably this mic would turn off and we'd have to switch it back. Being sabotaged currently by white comedy. They are coming for us right now. I forgot what I derailed myself by thinking about how funny Ryan Redcorn is when he's dancing. But I think that, yeah, like them just barreling on and them continuing to do that. There's the mythos in white comedy in white like television land, all the stuff that if you're not doing something that is relevant and palatable to the mainstream white audience, nobody's gonna like it. Nobody's gonna because it's all about numbers. Are they gonna make the money? And Reservation Dogs has blown that the fuck out of the water. And like Rutherford Falls and all the, you know, Spirit Rangers, Molly Denali. There's so many shows that where they've been saying the same lie for as long as any of us have been, you know, doing this, and as long as they've been doing it, that it's just, you're never gonna be able to make that show because people won't get it. There's not, you know, and you know, I think that is something that's kind of on my own comedy, how I've come around to being okay with like what I do again, is I realize actually funny is just funny. It has nothing to do, like I watch Seinfeld. Do I understand that life? Fuck no. I don't know what it means to be devoid of a soul and live in New York and be white, you know? And I like it. You know, it's a good show. It's fucked up, but it's a good show. And like, you know, there's been this whole thing about like, for the longest time, and I'm sure that you've dealt with it, you were just talking about it, where people are just like, this is not gonna work. And it's been so clear that that's just not true. It's just not true.
That's something that's, it's so cool to see that kind of, like you were saying earlier, like the numbers don't lie. Something that is really great to point to is like, if an exec or somebody is saying, native comedy is just not something that's palpable for US audiences, or, people aren't ready to deal with just like, the serious trauma associated with like native stuff, and like it's just better to sweep that under the rug. And then you see Reservation Dogs, which is a show that's like, about the complexities of the native experience. Some of it's about trauma, and some of it's just about like kids being dorks, and that can be such a hit show, it kind of erases the excuse that native comedy is not marketable. And then you're seeing like, just like a lot of other, native comedians and native shows and native things that are just like doing gangbusters and doing really great work, and it kind of erases the ability for people to say that we don't deserve to be in those spaces,
And I really think that the thing about like, because it'll probably come around again, where they'll start to say, well, you've had your Reservations Dogs, you've had your this, and we don't think there's anything new, right? But they've been making the same white comedies for God knows how long. Like, this is actually one of the things that I really would love to hear you talk about, is like, because everything that we consume, 99% of the things that we consume as American people, it's a formula, it's the same show that it's been for the past 40 years. They've been making the same shows over and over and over again. And the idea that like, because they do hit communities that like get a little one and done, like we're gonna give the Islamic community a show, we're gonna give this person a show, we're gonna give John Mulaney 6 shows. And
really gotta hit the John Mulaney.
Oh, the John Mulaney, and I do sort of like that guy. It sucks. He is moderately okay at comedy. I can't on stage give him a real compliment, and I don't know why. If John Mulaney, if you're watching, you seem fine. But yeah, I don't know. Like because I don't know how many shows have you even written? You've written for several, and I'm sure you're out there pitching more. As you're like getting ready to continue this like upward trajectory we have, what are the things that you are concerned about, like that you might be facing? That's actually just a real question.
Wow, I feel like we've been doing goofs for the past 50 minutes, and then you've hit me with something I gotta think about.
That's native comedy.
Yeah, that is something, I'll answer that question in a sec. That is something that my friends and I often joke about, like, one of the great things about native comedy is you're always 3 seconds away from talking about native trauma and bumming everybody out. It's just like a dime the mood can shift. Yeah, I think that for me, I try to be optimistic. So, I think that Reservation Dogs is a big hit, is definitely something that's really helpful when it comes to pitching shows around, in that you can point to, like a native comedy thing that is successful. And I think that like there's also some really great things about, Rutherford Falls gave us Janice Schmieding as a leading actress. Like we can say that, this amazing native actress has been the star of a TV show. So if I'm like pitching a TV show, I can say, hey, and Janice Schmieding should be the star of it. And I could say, and they'll be like, oh, really? Like, why should she be the star of it? And I could be like, she's the star of this other show that's great, I think that it's giving us the ability to, we're all getting credits and we're all getting experience and we're all getting the ability to fill out the ranks and hire teams in our shows confidently. Like something that, like with Spirit Rangers, and I feel like this has happened with a lot of the different native shows that have come out. There was kind of this feeling from, Spirit Rangers creator Carissa Valencia, who's an amazing TV writer, and okay, I want to have an all-native writers room. I want to have a lot of native people on the cast and crew. I don't know who that would be, but I'll just hope that they're out there, And then after, a search, she found me. She found a bunch of other folks, and bringing me on, that allowed me to like recommend a ton of other folks to also bring onto the show. And I think that, Reservation Dogs went through the same thing of like, well, we want this to be a largely native cast and crew. Who are we going to get for that? And then you kind of fill out, and like, there was also like this really cool intermixing that's happening of, we're all talking. So it's like, I remember with Spirit Rangers, when we were trying to find a composer, it's like, we definitely reached out to, Sterling Harjo, and we're like, hey, do you know any native composers? Or if you folks like Bird Running Water from the Sundance Labs, like we're all helping share resources to like make each other's work as good as it can get. So I would say that I'm I'm not worried because I feel like right now, like there are more Native people working in the entertainment industry in like high-level decision-making positions than I'm sure in history. You know, like I remember when I moved to LA, there were like maybe 3 Native TV writers working in all of Hollywood. You know, so that's like 3. That's not per show. That's not per network. That's 3 Native writers total working at the time in 2010, and now it's like. I can't even keep track of the amount of friends of mine that have jobs. There's like, dozens, probably like 50 to 100 Native folks who are like working in writers' rooms right now. And then there's, amazing things happening at the indie level. Like Erica Tremblay just released Fancy Dance, which premiered at Sundance, which is a really great feature that came out recently. There's, I forget who wrote it, but the Taika Waititi produced like Fry Bread Face and Me, I think, that just premiered at, I want to say, South by Southwest. I have a bunch of shows that I've sold and in development with different places. A lot of my friends are kind of going through different things of having shows sold that they're developing. So, I guess that I'm trying not to like rest on my laurels, but it just kind of feels like it's a really great time where it feels like a lot of decision makers are finally seeing the validity of Native stories and Native jokes, and we're all kind of benefiting for it,
Yeah. What a thoughtful answer. Everybody should clap for Joey Clift. Okay, so we got probably like a 13-ish minutes before we're supposed to be done at 6:30, right? I don't know. Does anybody? Yeah. Okay, great. Just quick, I'll ask you a couple questions. What's your favorite skin flick? And for the people who are not native, skin flick is just like native films that we have been making.
This is a classic, but I'm gonna say Powwow Highway.
Yeah.
It's just like a funny road trip movie, but about 2 Native guys. And Gary Farmer is such a good actor. That's something that's so cool about Native folks leading and show running and creating TV shows. Is I feel like all of us are so excited to hire Wes Studi to be in our things, And, it's something that you're seeing of all of us, want to work with Gary Farmer, all of us want to work with Tantu Cardinal and all these legendary Native actors. And I don't know, it's cool. So yeah, I would say Powwow Highway is fantastic.
Mine is still Avatar 2. What's your favorite non-native comedy?
Avatar 1.
A lot of people don't know that one. And who's your favorite non-native?
Just period? Okay, John Mulaney? Okay, least favorite non-native, whoever wrote Covered Wagon on the floor. I'm sure you're nice if you're in this room.
It really is like a threat. I don't know what you would want to ask us, but is there anybody in the audience that has a question? You?
So, it's very interesting for me to listen to you. And I'm curious if you can talk about you don't have a problem trying to piss off white guys. I think that's okay.
No, not at all.
The question I have is, what's your target audience and what's your actual audience?
Well, you probably missed earlier. I'm non-binary and trans, so I'm not a mister. Second, my target audience. Well, it depends on the kind of arrows I'm using. Am I using a broad tip? Am I using a target arrow? It just really depends on.
Up to.
Yeah. How.
Less than 4 a.m.
Yeah, exactly. For how long have I been planning this attack? It's really tough to say, which way is the wind blowing? You know what I'm saying? Do I have sand that I can drop to kind of find out where it's going? It really depends on I don't know. John Mulaney.
I guess for me, it kind of it changes from project to project. As a comedian, you oftentimes have conversations with other comedians about what's this joke about? What are you satirizing? Or what's the satirical target? And it kind of, it changes from thing to thing, But I think beyond that, my audience, I would say my most important audience is just myself, If I think that what I'm doing is funny and good, or if I don't think what I'm doing is funny and good, then I should probably not do it. And then outside of that, it's like I'm really excited to create work that like is hopefully like cathartic to Native folks and educational and funny for non-Native folks. You know, like we were talking earlier about how I feel like with any Native comedy or Native story, there's two distinct audiences that are viewing it at any given time, and that's like Native people who understand like, you know, just like base level Native stuff, and then non-Natives who might not necessarily understand that. So I remember when I screened my my first Native American boyfriend, the first time I screened it was at a comedy show in LA. After the Pocahontas joke, there's a joke where the girlfriend says something to the effect of like, yeah, and I also like always used to say that Rihanna was my spirit animal, and like half of the room laughed at it, the other half got dead quiet because they realized in that moment that they were not supposed to say that things are their spirit animal. And it was beautiful for me to just witness that of like, oh, half of them are like, oh, this is about me. So I don't know, it's like, those are fun to do.
Anybody else? Yes.
So we're here with our 13 and 16-year-olds.
Hello, I apologize for cursing.
All your work in reservation dogs and wanted to come out here for the show. And what advice do you have for teenagers that are interested in like your kind of pathway?
I mean, I'll just say, do it. You start doing, like, you know, the H1491 started making YouTube skits. They just did it. Nobody thought it was going to do any good. I doubt they thought that it was going to go well. You know, I just found an open mic and I just went and I just did it, and find friends who help you out, who will just like encourage, like find people you're around who are like encouraging or have been doing it or want to do it with you, and make community, and you'll do it. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I think that, that's really good advice. I think that if you want to like work in the arts or do storytelling or like, you know, make movies or work in TV or whatever, that's a really big umbrella where there's like a million different jobs associated with it. Like when I moved to LA, it was just broadly to do comedy or to work in comedy, but it's like, does that mean writing? Does that mean doing stand-up? Does that mean acting? Does that mean directing? Does that mean directing sketch videos or whatever? And I think that what I did when I first moved to LA, and like also when I was at WSU and when I was in high school, is like, just don't be afraid to try a lot of stuff, and then eventually you're gonna like, maybe you'll write a joke or you'll do stand-up or you'll make a funny TikTok video, and you'll think, oh, I didn't like doing that, but I liked this part of that. Maybe you like the writing part, or maybe you like the acting part, or maybe you like the, the whatever part of it. And then eventually, if you try enough things, you'll sort of hone in on like, what's the center point of the things that you like about all these different things. So just like, yeah, try a bunch of shit, and then eventually you'll circle in on the thing you like about the thing. And also, don't give up, and don't, if you're not good right off the bat, don't feel bad. Because, look, I sucked for my first 10 years. And it's like you kind of got to just push through that. Eventually you'll get as good as you wish, or as you want to be. But yeah, keep at it and just get started. Wait, any other questions? Yeah, applaud me. Any other questions? Going once, going twice. Anybody want Spirit Rangers Season 2 spoilers?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So before we finish, actually I would say one more thing. Don't be afraid to ask the people that you think are cool to like just to talk to them. I think I just reached out to you and said hello.
Instagram,
Yeah, and Joey said hi. I was trying to get Janice Schmeeding to record a little audio message for this thing yesterday because we talk, and she's busy. Being real cool. But you just reach out to people and don't be afraid. They're just people, and maybe they'll say no, but maybe they might say yeah, and you might be able to do something cool. I don't know. This is semi-related, but Danny Trejo. Anybody know Danny Trejo is a dope-ass actor. That guy does any film that anybody asks him to do. And I'm not joking, like students will reach out and ask him, will you do this film? And he'll just say yeah, because he's just nice. He just does it. And so, just ask.
Yeah, I think that's part of it too, is like, it's just be nice and be the type of person that you'd want to work with. It's like, if you're a jerk, why would anybody want to work with you? Because nobody would want to work with a jerk, you know?
I'm a jerk. Thank you guys for coming to Between Two Sets of Knees. You're welcome between our knees anytime. Before we're done, I think I had a personal question. I just wanted to ask you, what do you think the plot of Avatar 3 starring John Mulaney, which indigenous culture do you think they will really represent in the best way? And what do you think, how many awards do you think it'll win?
I think it'll sweep the awards. It'll just retell the story of the first. Actually, wait. I mean, Avatar 1 was basically Dancing with Wolves, right?
Dancing with Wolves,
Yeah, they'll just do that again. They'll just do that again, but louder.
It's gonna be Between Two Knees. They're gonna copy Between Two Knees, but it's just gonna be John Mulaney painted blue. Unless somebody else has another question, I think that we're probably gonna dip out. Oh, you do, yeah.
Who are you wearing?
Oh. Wow, the fashion segment. So you want to throw on the jacket and give us a little walk? Me? I'm not wearing, I don't know. This is a shirt from fucking nerdy ass D&D show I like, where they played villains one time, and I was like, I feel like that. And this is you probably can't see it, but this is like a very stereotypical Native American head, and I just like that racist shit, so I bought it. And this is a bandana, which every Native person has. And this scalp belonged to somebody else.
That's really funny. I probably shouldn't put the Spirit Rangers writers room on blast, but here we go. We actually, all of us went to, there was an animation convention in LA, and we were flipping through like old animation styles, and we saw one that was just like a racist native stereotype kid from a 50s Disney cartoon, and all of us were just like, oh, we kind of want to buy that. But who am I wearing? Let's see. These are Urban Native Era socks, Urban Native Era hat, 8th generation jacket. It's really dope. Yeah, they're really great. Native-owned fashion brand. Are you related to them or like?
They're fine. Colleen, they're fine.
And then these Calvin Klein shoes. I don't know. Talk to me afterwards. I'll send you Amazon links. Yeah.
I will say that I got them flat ass Pawnee feet. I don't know if anybody else is afflicted. So I wear, and I don't believe arch support is traditional. You show me the moccasin that has a Dr. Scholl's insert. It doesn't exist. So I go flat.
Truly, we are our ancestors' wildest dreams.
I'm saying that's how we're gonna end. We're our wildest ancestors' wildest dreams. Thank you guys so much. Shout out to Joey. Joey, how can they follow you and stuff?
Oh, yeah. Follow me on Twitter and TikTok at Joeytainment. Follow me on Instagram at Joey Clift with 5 or 6 eyes. The reason for that is that 12-year-old took Joey Clift with 1 eye, and I just had to deal. And then, you can check out my digital series Gone Native on Comedy Central social channels, and Spirit Rangers Season 2 is coming out real soon, so definitely check that out on Netflix.
You can follow me on Instagram at Howie. I'm the only one because of the genocide. It's the 6th time it hits even harder. And TikTok, it's at Howie, you fools. And I have a podcast called Every Native Episode that I've been on like a moderate hiatus from, but me and Joey have an episode. What? Did we do Seinfeld?
We did
No. We did the Saved by the Bell Native American episode. It's fantastic. Superb. That's my favorite Native comedy. I take it back. It's beautiful. We just love the red face. And I do events in Seattle. If you live here, Indigenized Productions, you can follow us. Other than that, that's all. Thank you guys so much.